Well, okay, yet another video on DCEU stuff, and just a kind of like an overview of details that keep coming out and some possible confirmations. Not really official, WB hasn't said anything, or HBO Max or whatnot. But of course, the talks with Michael Keaton does appear to be a serious ordeal, but nothing is finalized. Neither camp has agreed to anything. As to what it would be, is it just his cameo in a Flash movie, or would it be, or could that lead to a Batman Beyond film? The idea of him being a mentor to the DCEU and that sort of thing, I'm not too crazy about. Another detail was that he could possibly be a mentor in the Batgirl film, which apparently is still on the table. I haven't heard much about it. They apparently did abandon the Supergirl film. But so Midnight's Edge came about and did their video on this. And of course, this is via Mikey Sutton, who has been a pretty good scooper when it comes to the DCEU and whatnot. So apparently that is the plan, that there would be this Batman Beyond film, not HBO Max series. HBO Max series was one of the thoughts that they had, and I thought that might be something they would pursue coming out of the Flash film. But it might just be another film and actually reunite the old Batman team of Tim Burton and Michael Keaton. And then the villain to be revealed to be Johnny Depp's Joker. Now, Johnny Depp as the Joker is another thing that's been rumored of late. And some thought that might mean he would appear as the Joker in the Matt Reeves Batman film. There may yet be a Joker or a slight cameo of a Joker in that film, as it involves a murder mystery surrounding the Batman villains, as that they all become suspects in it, I believe, and loosely based on Long Halloween. So that's kind of what happened in that story. So yeah, that may be the case, but chances are it's not Johnny Depp. If he signs on to play the character, it would be Johnny Depp in this version of it. And apparently they would go ahead and say, yeah, it's an adaptation of the animated movie where, the Joker returns, and, what the hell, who is this? How can the Joker be back? And all that sort of thing. And in the end, spoilers, it's not the real Joker, it's Tim Drake, who had been taken over by the Joker, who had slipped a chip in him, and over time it took over his brain and consciousness, and thus the Joker was more or less reborn as a clone of himself through Tim Drake. And all of this to get revenge on Bruce Wayne or Batman from beyond the grave. And of course, Terry McGinnis, the young Batman in Batman Beyond, has to deal with that. So you could have a version of that, and they would be wise to follow something that has a plot that's pretty sound, which they should have done with Suicide Squad, utilizing the Suicide Squad animated feature, Assault on Arkham, which would have been a much better plot for that film. And they could have improved on it, because even that is not all that great, but it's better than the theatrical live-action film. So they have the team back together. There was some thinking that Michelle Pfeiffer could reprise her role in some form as Catwoman, and even Jack Nicholson, but I don't know that Jack Nicholson is healthy enough to do films. We haven't seen him in a while, and the last time it sounded like he wasn't doing so great. As with Johnny Depp taking the Joker role, and it's like, well, how can he be would it be the same Joker and within that universe, since he died in the Batman film? But then, oh no, it would be this other character who could have been Batman's Robin, And it's funny, because there was this theory about the Jason Leto Joker was not the real Joker, but was rather one of the Robins to Ben Affleck's Batman, who had went nuts and began to believe himself to be the Joker or what have you. But I don't think there was anything to it actually. It's just, I think it was a fan theory and that sort of thing. But anyway, that would be the case here, and that's probably where they got it from, was this animated movie. And so that would be an idea they could follow for this separate thing, but it all hinges on Michael Keaton agreed to come back. Once that starts, then they can get the ball rolling and have Tim Burton and Johnny Depp and Michael Keaton all together in this film. Now, of course, Tim Burton is the link between the two. It reunites the Batman team, but it also reunites Tim Burton and Johnny Depp, which they've had quite a few films together, and so probably would be agreeable to it at this point. It's also very interesting that it more than likely looks like Amber Heard is on the way out of the DCEU, and then or any DC films for that matter. And then here comes Johnny Depp to get a very pivotal role in that franchise. So this would work well within the ideas of separate Batman projects going on at the same time, especially something like this that is so very different from the other depictions of Batman. And so this one here, you have the Batman Beyond version, you'd have the Matt Reeves version, which just deals with Batman in a noir setting of solving mysteries, and then of course I'm hoping the Affleck Batman Returns for the Justice League universe of the DCEU, probably in the HBO Max version of that, depending on how well Snyder Cut does. So there you go. The idea, hopefully, I'm not interested in a Batgirl film or with Michael Keaton as the mentor to a Batgirl. Maybe that would be a great thing, I don't know, but I'm not so crazy about it. But the other project would have been Supergirl, and apparently that's been scrapped. And the rumor was they were looking to restart Superman, and hopefully that is Henry Cavill. The recent rumors was that they wanted him to come back and basically do cameos in other films or play a part. And I think if it was a Superman versus Black Adam film, then he's going to play a big role in that. And he'll probably have more of a role in one of the Shazam films, and this would be a way to weave him back in. And I'm hoping that's what the plan is, because there were some rumors about, well, they're not ready to do a Superman film yet because they don't think he's popular enough to waste the time on or something. I don't know, this will build him back up. But it's probably what they can get started right now, because these films were already on the table to be done. It's just the outbreak slowed all that down, because otherwise Black Adam would be probably beginning to be underway rather soon, maybe even right now. But, outbreak ruined everything. So I don't know that Henry Cavill's Superman was to appear in that film per se, but they've got these projects rolling that they could weave him in there, build him up, and then do the Superman film. A Superman film might be, depending on how the Snyder Cut thing works out, and then you could have a Superman story branch off out of that story in the hopes that out of its success could come back to further Justice League stories on HBO Max and all of that, and how it all weaves in. And that could be a cool outcome, provided, of course, all of this remains popular and viable to invest the money it takes to produce these. And finally, at least according, well, not comic book news, I guess, Grace Randolph is saying she's heard from a second source, and I read this on Cosmic Book News. The Batman Beyond article was Bounty in the Comics, and I will have the link description, the link to those articles in the link description below. But anyway, the Ryan Reynolds deal is looking more and more serious, and that it might actually be true, because apparently Grace Randolph heard from a second source that apparently there will be a Ryan Reynolds cameo as Green Lantern in the Snyder Cut. Now, this probably a very brief scene, and I'm assuming, of course, it's the scene where the Green Lanterns, and I think there's more than one, meets with Bruce Wayne at the end of the story for Zack Snyder's Justice League. So that will probably be Ryan Reynolds there. So it would be a cool thing to see that. Primarily, I think Ryan Reynolds was not the problem with that film. The plot was, for the most part, was pretty bad, but there were great things about it. I liked him as Hal Jordan, and I really liked Mark Strong as Sinestro, and that would be cool to see him return, if possible, in future films. I thought that the part of the rumored plots for a Green Lantern film was a buddy film where Green Lantern mentors a John Stewart and then dies, and John Stewart becomes the film. And then someone in the comments wrote that, well, couldn't he just go off on these other adventures and John Stewart could be part of the, and then that's an interesting idea to where it's a split where John Stewart is the Justice League Green Lantern, and then you could still have a complete maybe trilogy of Green Lantern films with Ryan Reynolds, but it's in space and it deals with his battle with Sinestro and all that sort of thing, and that could be a cool, nice little package there. So would really love to see Mark Strong back as Sinestro, and it's perfectly doable. He looks very different in the makeup and whatnot, and he could still play Dr. Sivana for the Shazam films, and have a dual role, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind the extra work and paycheck. So so there you go. I titled this Who's Who in the DCEU based on the old it's sort of like DC's version of the official Marvel handbook to the Marvel Universe book, where they would just publish these books that would give you a sort of encyclopedic guide to their characters and worlds and whatnot. And DC did the same thing. It was always called Who's Who, and I just threw that in there. Maybe I'll make it a regular feature. Let's just go through, because these characters are somewhat in doubt. We don't know exactly what their status is just yet. As far as Wonder Woman and Aquaman, we know about their set, and the Flash apparently is set. We just not quite sure exactly if it'll be the same actor. But so anyway, things still up in the air here about Batman and Superman and Green Lantern. So, but time will tell, as it always does.
All right. Thank you for watching and listening. Why not like and subscribe and check out that link description below. That'll take you to my mini stores and have plenty of goodies for you. You know, hats, mugs, stickers, posters, all that goody stuff. Plus, you can head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book Night Night. Oh, yeah. Plus, you can also catch my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, over at RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on my channel at BitChute. That's the Mr Nailsin channel on BitChute.com.